Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled people stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Neighbor playing music till past 4 a.m. and gets indignant and rude after I politely ask her to turn it down. After that, am I the jerk for letting my stepkids call me dad even though it upsets my wife? And after that, my girlfriend expected me to choose her over my cat, loses it on me when I refuse to do so. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to play her music past 4 a.m.
Tick-tock round the clock, DJ blow my speakers up.
So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Neighbor playing music till past 4 a.m. and gets indignant and rude after I politely ask her to turn it down. I believe the text messages speak for themselves, but just for some extra context, this is a text exchange between me and my neighbor. We've been friends for 10 plus years and share a thin wall in an apartment. Monday, 3:07 a.m. Me. Could you turn your music down, please? The bass is coming through the wall. Thanks. I said thanks because I thought she had turned it down. Turns out the song had just ended and she kept playing music till past 4 a.m. But at that point, I passed out. These are the texts I woke up to. Monday, 5:55 a.m. Her. Oh, please, get over yourself. My one day off. Mean gesture emoji. 6:55 a.m. Me. Not my day off. Get over yourself. I was super polite. At 3 a.m. too, which nobody else would have been. At that point, I'm up and rage-fueled, so I put my speaker, smallest speaker I have by the way, next to her wall and turn on the bassiest music I have while doing my morning work. 7:45 a.m. Her. Keith, for the love of God, you are so selfish and it truly is insane. I have not had an opportunity to listen to music or be out in months, and the one time, all you can think about is yourself. It amazes me how truly selfish and self-aware that you are. Sometimes I'm like, is he even my friend? Or is he just some jerk who lives next to me? You literally only care about yourself. Me. Anytime you ask me to do some basic neighbor stuff, I do it. I ask you to do even more basic neighbor stuff, and you tell me to go forget myself. Her. And now you are aggressively playing music because you can only think about yourself, right? For years, I never said anything because I was like, one day it will be my turn. And now look at you. Disgusting. You're pathetic. You only see yourself. It's amazing. Me. You only care about yourself. It's unacceptable socially and legally to play music after 2 a.m. That's when bars have to close here. Don't ask me for crap again. Her. I've been working 80-hour weeks, and I got one night to enjoy myself. I cannot believe all you can think about is you. It amazes me. Me. Then get some headphones. I'd like to play music every morning, but I don't because I think of you and our other neighbors. I hope you're wasted because any sober, reasonable person will see how in the wrong you are. Her. I'll live without you. You break my heart. It's like you don't even see me. After 12 years, it's just you that matters. Me. Sweet. Just please have common courtesy and keep the music down after 12 a.m. Sunday through Thursday. That's literally all that I'm asking. Her. Again and again, and I wonder why I even try with you. Me. My sleep matters more to me than you being a self-absorbed jerk. Her. You can buzz off, dude. Me. Blocked. I'd call the police past midnight. It has to be against some noise ordinance. After calling the police, I would inform the landlord, assuming you both rent from the same person, of the action you had to take. Don't let the behavior go. It only gets worse. OP. If it keeps happening, this sadly will be the course of action I will have to take. She's been one of my best friends for over 10 years, but if she won't apologize and continues to do this, I have no other options. She's basically telling me, one day a week, you're going to be sleep deprived at your job. What would you do in this situation? Would you call the cops on your neighbor or not? Please let us know.
Did you two date in the past or something? It sounds like you might have some sort of a history together.
Am I the jerk for letting my stepkids call me dad, even though it upsets my wife? I married my wife last year, after 4 years of dating, and we mixed our families. Her 2 sons, Dylan and Tyler, who are 16 and 11 now, and my daughter, Sam, who's 18 now. Our kids accommodated to the idea of living together pretty well. Dylan and Ty's father and my wife got divorced when Tyler was born, and they agreed he would only have visitation rights. Around 2 or 3 years ago, Tyler called me dad while we were having dinner, and that night, my wife asked me to correct her kids when they call me dad, out of respect for their actual father. I found it weird, but I agreed to, because in the end, they're her kids, although I never ended up doing it. This week, Dylan had a football match and Tyler a piano lesson, which my wife usually picks them up after. This time, both she and I didn't have to work, so I suggested picking them up together. Dylan practically jumped to our car, and then we all went to pick up Tyler. And since I was there, I decided to meet his piano teacher too. When she met my wife, Dylan, and me, she greeted us and asked me if I was the kid's dad. I sincerely forgot about that promise I made years ago and said I indeed was their father. My wife almost instantly corrected me with, "Stepfather," and then Dylan said out loud, "Mom." The return home was awkward, and when we arrived, she called me out for breaking the promise we had by saying I'm the kid's dad. To make it worse, this morning, I noticed the kids are acting distant towards their mother, and they deliberately are calling me dad whenever she's around. I feel guilty because it's the first time there's been such tension between them, and it's my fault. Am I the jerk for calling them my kids? Your wife is working towards an estranged relationship with her boys. We can parent as much as we want, but we will never control our kids' feelings. She has assigned herself way too much power and her kids too little autonomy. We aren't talking about 6-year-olds. You didn't do anything other than step up to the plate that another man abandoned. Not the jerk. The whole goal of step-parenting is to have this kind of relationship. How can OP's wife be so mad about something so many people would dream of having? Because she's still dreaming of reconciling with the biological father. That was my first thought. Then I read the comments, and apparently the biological father misses visitation but still sees OP's wife regularly, which implies they're having an affair behind OP's back. I just hope OP isn't putting money into Dylan's college fund. Why? Why this in particular? If Dylan considers OP to be his dad, and OP feels much the same, would it be so bad? The kid's done nothing wrong, and his education isn't for his mother's benefit. I created a college fund for my ex's kid, who I love very much. A bad feeling between the parents shouldn't affect the kid. Not the jerk. She's upset because you are a father to her kids and love them and they love you back? I could understand their dad being upset, but not her. And honestly, not even him. He has visitation. You live with them. OP. He doesn't even visit them, so I actually would get mad if he protested. Not the jerk. I would understand if he was still in the picture, but I don't understand why your wife would want them to call you stepdad out of respect for an absent father. Respect is earned. He's done nothing to earn it and nothing to earn the title of dad. On the other hand, clearly you have. ETA. Okay, I see a lot of people responding to my comment, talking about the wife having an affair with the ex-husband. I didn't see his comments about the ex-husband still meeting with his wife regularly before I commented this. However, I still stand by my statement. He might still be actively present in the wife's life, but he is certainly not around enough in the kids' lives to earn the title of dad. Not the jerk. If the kids think of you as dad, then you're dad. Dad is not limited to biological father. Why can't the kids have 2 dads? Also, it should be seen as the highest of compliments. OP's wife should be grateful that her sons see and feel that way about their stepfather. It definitely isn't always the case. Your wife is the weird one, dude. It's almost as if she only wanted you to be there for the financial support, not to be a father to her kids. Her kids like you. The fact that they got upset on your behalf is proof of that. That's why they're deliberately going out of their way to call you dad. She hurt their feelings. She may not see you as her kid's dad, but they sure as heck see you as their dad. OP. That's the reason I never could tell them to stop calling me dad, even when I still wasn't as attached to them as I am now. Their tone was always affectionate and innocent, and nowadays, it even makes me happy that they consider me their dad. Being a stepdad was one of the best things I've had happen to me. Neither kid ever called me dad, and I was okay with that. If they did, I would have been okay with that also. The youngest is now 30 and still calls me dude. Close enough for me. I'm wondering if your wife is afraid of what her ex would do or say when her kids start calling you dad. Question, is the biological father's family present in the boys' lives? If they are, they can cause problems with your wife. OP, my wife and her ex are friends, but his family aren't present on Dylan and Tyler's lives. In fact, dude isn't either, to be honest. That honestly blows my mind. I'd have a really hard time being friends with the guy who abandoned our kids. I don't know what is up with your wife, but obviously the boys love you, so you're doing something right. OP. From what she told me, they broke up because they weren't attracted to each other anymore and preferred to go back to being friends. Well, now I wonder if she's just hung up on the guy and is upset that her kids have written him off. What? Hang on. She's friendly towards a guy who doesn't give a hoot about his own and her kids? Like, she can actually have a friendship going with him despite this? I predict in a couple years, her going back to him and leaving you with the kids. Seriously. And you'll be the winner here. This. OP's wife seems to be keeping biological dad's spot open in case he wants her back. Something is definitely off with her insistence on the stepdad stuff. Wouldn't be surprised if she's still hooking up with the absent dad while letting stepdad raise the kids. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know.
She wrong for that, bruh. This is a hill I think would be worth dying on.
My girlfriend expected me to choose her over my cat, loses it on me when I refuse to do so. I, 25 female, have an 18-year-old cat, Misty. I've had her for most of my life, and she's helped me overcome many things, such as my parents' divorce, coming out, my mom's death, and much more. She's precious to me, and I know that she doesn't have much time left, so I go out of my way to spoil her every single day. 2 years ago, I got into a relationship with my girlfriend, Kara, who's 27. Kara knew I was a massive cat fan, and although she didn't share my enthusiasm for cats, she didn't mind it. Last year, I offered Kara to move in with me. I own my own apartment, which I inherited from my mother. It's in a nice location in our town, and is close to Kara's job. She agreed and moved in the following month. Half a year after moving in, Kara fell ill out of the blue. She brushed it off at first, saying it's probably nothing, but I convinced her to go see a doctor and have some tests done. The test results came in, and we were shocked to discover Kara is allergic to cats. Apparently, she was probably mildly allergic to cats all her life, but since she was never exposed to them for a long period of time, it was never discovered. Her being exposed to Misty for over a year is what made her allergies much worse. I've talked with Kara about our plans in the future. I offered she could start taking anti-allergy medication, which I said I'll pay for, but she refused, saying she doesn't want to swallow a pill every day so she can keep living at home, which is valid. I then asked her when she's going to move out. Kara looked at me confused, so I explained that since her living with Misty is what's causing her health issues, it'll be better for her to move out. Kara started arguing with me, claiming I'm ridiculous for suggesting she moves out over a cat. I told her I'm not going to rehome Misty under any circumstances and offered she could move in again after Misty passes away eventually, but until then, she'll have to find a different place to live in. After arguing some more, Kara left to sleep at her sister's place, and I've been getting calls from mutual friends who caught wind of the situation. Some were sympathetic, while others called me heartless for preferring a dying pet over a living human. I'm very conflicted over this whole situation, and although I feel like I'm doing what's right and my request isn't unreasonable, I'm afraid I might be the jerk. Am I the jerk? What is more alarming than the fact that she won't take a simple allergy pill is the fact that she has zero empathy for your 18-year bond with your cat. You may be dodging a bullet, not the jerk. This is actually a really good point. Rehome the animal you've loved for 18 years because I don't want to take one pill per day? Eesh, with a lack of empathy. And not just OP's bond to Misty, it's Misty's bond to OP as well. Cats love their humans. It would be cruel to rehome her at that age. Also, no one is going to adopt an 18-year-old cat. She would spend her last years likely sick in a shelter. Edit. Should have said almost no one. Of course, some wonderful people will give seniors their best retirement years. Not the jerk. You offered a practical solution and she refused. If a pill is so much work, she can find somewhere else to stay. Your cat has been part of your life for almost your entire life. You deserve every single moment with Misty. Not the jerk. Girlfriend has the option of trying anti-allergy meds. This is pretty standard for people with allergies, and she's refusing. You have a commitment to your cat that goes back nearly 20 years, and it's bigger than choosing a cat over a girlfriend. It's about your girlfriend not recognizing what's important to you in life and trying to understand and compromise. When you move in together, this can highlight really deep-seated incompatibilities, which is why people live together for a while and then don't end up getting married, etc. This could just be the time when you recognize that you both have a different approach to some stuff in life, and there's some big theme incompatibilities. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her girlfriend? Please let us know.
Congratulations on dodging that bullet, OP. Give Misty some scratches for us. Meow.
Boss said no shorts. I work at an office that sells bulk goods to businesses that use them, like retail outlets, etc. Our office doesn't usually have a strict dress code, but we recently got a new boss, Jerk, who's quite literally a real pain. He's constantly yelling at everyone about basic things like punching in a minute or two early or late, or being a word or two off the script during outbound or inbound calls. Dealing with him in general has made me hate the job more. As it's getting hotter, I've been wearing khaki shorts to work the past few days, which is something I've always done for the past few years, and nobody has confronted me about it before. So I figured nothing would change this year. But boy, was I wrong. About halfway through my shift, this boss comes to my desk and realizes I'm wearing shorts and is visibly annoyed. He mutters something under his breath and goes back to his office. An hour later, I was called into his office, where he proceeded to berate me about breaking dress code. He was fuming and ended the meeting with, "From now on, you follow the dress code to the book, or you're fired." Say no more, boss. That night, I went home and read up on the dress code rules. There was, in fact, a rule against shorts, so I was annoyed, but kept on. And then I found it. There is no rule preventing males from wearing skirts or kilts. Here's where I devised my plan. I immediately ordered a pink and white striped kilt online, as well as matching knee-high socks and shirt. There was no rule stated in the dress code against any of this, surprisingly. About a week later, the clothes arrived, and here's what ensued the following workday. I walked in wearing my new pink business outfit, and immediately the whole office is staring at me, and the boss who came in to cover another boss's shift in the morning was beat red in the face and yelled at me to come in his office. He goes on a 10-minute rant about how I'm a useless employee and that he's going to fire me for not following the dress code to a T. I simply stated, "I am in dress code. I urge you to read the employee handbook." He ended up reading the whole thing in front of me, and I could see him getting more and more angry as he realized I didn't break any rules. I asked him, "Am I free to go back to work?" And he looked at me with a death glare, muttered something under his breath, and waved me off. Where I used to work had a similar rule, but women were allowed to wear capris and shorts that sat below the knee. One coworker came in, male, wearing shorts because it's hot, like 80 degrees, in our work area. I'm in capris, as is another female worker. He got told off. His shorts were nearly covering his knees. So the next day he comes up in the same shorts, but had stitched some black bands around the bottom so that they were around the same length as the shorts I had on. Darn straight, I pointed out that his were the same length as mine, so why wasn't I being sent home too? Well, they couldn't do that because no one would be running the returns. Rules were then changed to allow guys to wear below-knee shorts as well. Kilt was suggested to other male coworkers too, cause it's wrong. Guys should be allowed to wear shorts. Am I the jerk for getting my pregnant coworker in so much trouble she may lose her job and paid maternity leave? I, 28 male, met M, female 24, on a dating app 3 years ago. At this time, I had recently landed a paid apprenticeship in a profession I truly love. We found out she was also hired for the same apprenticeship and we would be in a class together. We went on a date and it went normal. We went for drinks and we took a bus back. Her father would pick her up in my town. Since it took about half an hour for her dad to arrive, we took a seat on a bench near the bus stop. We continued talking and ended up kissing for a short time. At the start of our interaction, I had warned her that I would not appreciate if our coworkers got involved. This was exactly what happened, and I made it clear I didn't want to continue due to constant interference of her team. I still believed she kept silent. Contact watered down, but we kept texting from time to time since we were still classmates and we didn't want to make it awkward or lose the chance to vent to each other about work and school. Fast forward 3 years and I get my diploma after lots of issues stemming from rumors. At this time, I still believe she's on my side and just informing me. At this point, she and I blame her coworkers and speak extremely negative about them. She told me, interns were warned for me as I would hook up with anybody I could. Interns reported to the team leader I was hitting on them. When asked for names, none could be given because excuses. Her team only talked crap about me and spread rumors. I got placed on her team, and in the past weeks, I have heard claims that could damage my future. This leads me to believe she made up the drama she told me about to be vindictive. I'm not a very confident person, and I have lost an internship due to rumors before. I'm the grandson of a notorious man in this small rural community. She is/was aware of this. She told her team, "We hooked up after the date on a wooden bench outside." She had to block me on Facebook because I would harass her if I found out she was pregnant. I'm still obsessed with her and would often send her pictures. I made classmates awkward because I would follow her like a lost dog or try to harass her when seated next to her. None of all of the listed things ever happened. Last week, after a fire safety drill where I ignored her, she told her team I was being rude and distant to her because I was jealous she was pregnant with someone else. I got offended that she was still actively trying to paint a false image of me, so I reported her to the manager and HR. I also kept some proof from the WhatsApp conversations, and she may lose her internship/job. I feel guilty because I really did like her at the time, and I do not want to deny a baby, that had nothing to do with this, a provided start in life. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. What she was doing was slander and harassment. It isn't your responsibility to be treated poorly to maybe protect another person's baby. She'll find another job, but you deserve to feel safe and comfortable in your workplace. OP, as well as dealing with this in the workplace, I hope you consider taking her to court for slander and harassment, restraining order too. What a nasty piece of work. Not the jerk. She has intentionally destroyed your reputation and career. She cares nothing for the damages she has caused, so why are you allowing yourself to feel any guilt for the consequences of her actions? So much not the jerk. She has gone way too far. I appreciate you trying to be civil and the concern for her kid, but seriously, that's extreme nuts of her. Am I the jerk for telling my coworker her bad decisions and her kids are not my responsibility? So here's what happened. I, 35 female, was talking to a coworker, a different one, and while talking about plans for the next few weeks, I told her I would be taking my daughter, who's 9, to a Broadway show that we both love. Another coworker, who's 30 female, heard us talking. She has 5 kids, her oldest being my daughter's age. She has tried to force a friendship between my daughter and hers since she started working here. I tried, and they had a few play dates over the last 4 years, and my daughter just doesn't enjoy her daughter's company, so I decided not to force her into more play dates. So when she heard us talking about the show, she decided her daughter and her will be joining us. I didn't want her or her daughter to feel bad, so I didn't decline. She asked me about our seats to get some next to us, and when I told her, she looked them up and she started complaining about the prices and asking why we couldn't sit in a cheaper section. I told her I understood if she couldn't pay those prices and that they could seat somewhere else, but we prefer those seats. She ended up buying the tickets right behind us. She showed up early, inserted herself in our plans. So many things happened, but can't write them all. Dinner was the worst. She hadn't been invited for that either. She saw the restaurant and quickly said they wouldn't be able to afford it. I told her I would pay for them. Her daughter threw a tantrum because they didn't have what she wanted. She's 9 and crying like a toddler. Her mother does nothing. For info, I can afford this because my family has money. So did my husband. He passed 2 years ago and left us his money. We finally get to the theater and it's horrible. Her daughter wouldn't stop talking loudly and whining. She was asked to step out and calm her kids several times during the show. After intermission, her child was again crying because she wanted the same cup my daughter had, but her mom didn't buy it. I didn't know she had asked her mom for one. She was asked to leave the theater with her kid. She started arguing, lost, and then told me, "Let's just go." I said, "No, I'm staying." The show ends, and I figured they had gone home. They were outside waiting. Then she went off on me how I should have left with her, how she spent all this money for the stupid show, and that I should take them home and pay for the tickets. I exploded, told her she could find her way home, and that her spending the money was not my problem. She says her kids will go hungry until next paycheck, and it's my fault. I told her she invited herself, and that her bad finances and her kids are not my responsibility, and left with my daughter. All week she's been going on how she can't feed her kids and that it's my fault. People at work have sided with me, but I feel so bad now thinking about her kids being hungry. I know I can and could just give her money, but the fact that she says it's my fault stops me. So, am I the jerk? Should I just give her the money to feed her kids? Not the jerk, but you really need to grow a spine. You are allowed to have a nice outing to a show with your daughter, So I would say you were the jerk to your daughter who had her Broadway show experience ruined because you couldn't stand up to a jerk. OP, you are absolutely right. I will make it up to my daughter. I always felt bad for this woman because it can't be easy with 5 kids and alone. I don't know details of the kid's father, but in the beginning, I figured she just wanted company. I just ignore her now, but her comments about the kids were getting to me. Why do I feel like she's social climbing? You seem to have elegant tastes and a bit well off. She's forcing her kid to be buddy-buddy with yours and her on you. Told quantity, not quality, by boss, gave them exactly that. I worked at a law firm that handled an extremely high volume of cases. I'm talking thousands per month. And due to the specific field they were in, the work called for a ton of motion practice. We had to respond to motions on nearly every case, after which the cases would settle, and we would be paid relatively small amounts that added up. To answer all the motions, we would use a boilerplate template, input a few specifics via prompts, and send it off. This would take about 15 to 20 minutes. It was a profitable scheme, and to be fair, it worked for that specific field of law. This is highly irregular and would be nearly impossible to effectively mount a counter-argument in any other field of law, which typically requires research and fact-specific rebuttal to very specific challenges to your case. Fast forward, and now the firm is taking on cases in a new field of law, nearly all between 200 to 300,000 per case, or about 100x what a case in their original field would take. We needed to draft and file complaints on these cases. To achieve this, the partners insisted that our senior attorney would create a template. Our paralegal staff, making $10 an hour, would speak with the client and create an intake cover sheet for each case, and I would be the lucky middleman who gets to input the cover sheet data into the template and generate a complaint for every single case in this new field that the firm was handling. In essence, they thought we could handle this new, complex, different field of law with much higher stakes in much the same way they were handling our normal cases. The intake staff had no clue what they were doing, and the boilerplate template was wildly insufficient to allege the particular facts, which varied so considerably between cases, also why intake had problems. The partners thought it should take me about 15 to 20 minutes to generate a complaint with their method, but the reality was I actually had to review every file from scratch, figure out what was going on, input the data myself, make massive edits to the complaint, etc. It would take me at least 1.5 hours to do a good job, and honestly, that's what I did, a good job. As you can imagine, something of a backlog ensued, and the partners wanted to know what the issue was. I explained that due to the nature of the cases, they were requiring specific edits. I offered several recommendations for how we could improve our efficiency, but they didn't want to hear it. I explained that these cases were worth significantly more, and even spending 4 to 5 times longer on them than on our other cases was still a huge win for them. They wanted paper out. Quantity over quality, I was told. Leave the decisions to them. Do what I'm instructed to do and play my part on the assembly line. Note that these partners did actually no legal work whatsoever on any cases. They once did long ago, but now just watch cameras all day and complain if you're 5 minutes late. In a fit of frustrations and rage, I maliciously complied. I actually stayed late a few nights and banged out maybe 75 or so complaints that had backlogged. I sent them all to the senior attorney for final review, with no edits whatsoever. Wrong data from our intake team, nonsensical legal arguments, fact patterns that were completely untrue, just like I was told. About 3 workdays later, I got called in for a meeting about what was going on in these complaints, and that the senior attorney was about 1/3 of the way through what I had sent him, and not one of the complaints was suitable to be filed. I told them I was just doing my job on the assembly line, and that the issue must be coming from somewhere else, but definitely not from me, because I did exactly as instructed and mindlessly input the data and sent it along. They told me this was unacceptable, and if there was an issue, I should have brought it up to their attention, to which I replied that I tried and was not listened to. They refused to accept defeat and attempted to change data collection, change the templates to no avail. It got hostile. No matter what they did, their system just didn't work, and I continued to comply with their insistence I do my job and my job only. It was unbelievable how stubborn these people were. Quit that job and moved on. I've been tracking some of the cases online, and they're getting dismissed on motion. Quantity, not quality, eh? Not how I practice law. How I got a Karen's car towed. I recently bought a house and moved in. The previous owner rented the house out to students and transformed a big part of the front yard into a parking place. My front yard is basically just 4 parking spaces. I live alone and basically only use one of the parking spaces, but while the painters, handyman, and gardeners for the backyard were there, they used the other parking spaces during the day because the nearest community parking spaces are half a kilometer from my house, so about a 5-minute walk. When they were done and I moved in, my elderly neighbor, who cannot walk without a cane, asked if she could continue the deal she made with the previous owner. She showed me the contract she made with the previous owner that states that she can use it in exchange for a home-cooked meal once a month. I told her she didn't have to give me anything as I understood her situation, but she insisted. So I signed the contract to let her use the space closest to her house. This went well for a couple of months before another house in the street was sold and the new neighbor asked if their handyman and painters could use the parking places until they were done, as it was not handy to make them walk all the way to and from their truck. You're not allowed to park in the street. I told them it was fine, but only the handyman and painters can use the spaces. When they are done, I did not want others I did not make a deal with using my parking spaces, as I like to keep the spaces clear for my girlfriend, friends, and family when they're allowed to visit again. Fast forward a month, and the handyman and painters are finished with the house, and the new neighbors started using the spaces. I told them this wasn't what we discussed and that they had to leave. They told me that the spaces are community spaces and she and her husband could use them as I didn't need 4 spaces for myself. I told her to move the cars or I would have them towed. They moved their cars and didn't use the spaces anymore for a week. As soon as she parked her car there again, I immediately called a tow company and half an hour later, her car got towed. The next day she came up to me asking me where her car went. I told her I had it towed because she parked in my front yard. My friend tells me I'm being a petty jerk for having her car towed and I should apologize. My girlfriend tells me I did the right thing as they would have probably claimed my entire front yard as their personal parking places if I didn't make a point out of it. So, am I the jerk here?
Huge shout out to our newest official channel member, Jonathan. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It really means the world to Reddit Boy and I. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.